So we're live?
Yes.
Yep.
Hey, everybody. I'm stepping in. I'm going to be the facilitator, I guess, the person who's going to talk the most on talking craps. Jay's going to be in the background and just doing all the stuff there. And when I mess up, which is guaranteed to happen, he's going to be like, Johnny moron, you should have done this. Well, so thank you for tuning in, whoever's tuning in. Today we're going to have the
You can do it.
Darrald, the indomitable Darrald. If you've never worked with him, you've missed out a lot. He's a hell of a guy, and he was great in casinos. And we've also got Mikey over there. I can't do that. It just confuses me. I can't.
I can do that. That's okay.
Yeah. So the other person we have, as always, we got Mikey. Now he's called Nightgown, apparently. So.
Well, it's gonna come up, so I might as well say it. It's not a dress, okay? We'll just go with that.
Wow, like right off the bat, Mike. Come on. We have to lead.
He's trying to be preemptive.
I am.
Well, it's good to see Mikey. You're bringing it up front because you said, okay, your picture keeps coming up a lot with you in somebody's underwear or a bikini, and you seem to enjoy those pictures coming up for the most part, which is kind of cool, to be honest.
Ships were a wild beast, and John, Jay, Darrald, you know this. Things happen, and you know what? It was all in good fun, and I lost the bet. I'll admit I lost the bet. I can't remember what the bet was for the life of me. I think we were betting on football or something. And I have no idea what I was doing, but I lost the bet, and yeah, I was wearing a nightgown.
He manned up, did the thing.
So today, for whoever's watching, we've got Darrald, and Darrald has been around for a long time, and he's been in casinos for a long time too. So Darrald, how about to introduce yourself and tell us how a bit about yourself and how you got into casinos.
Obviously, my name is Darrald. I got into casinos because carpet laying was doing my head in. Went to K-Days, trained up, met a bunch of great people. Managed to make it through that first season at K-Days and got hired right away at the Palace. Did really well there, as a matter of fact. Again, met great people, worked with great people. Jay Lee's brother was a big influence for me, X. Got my roulette as quick as I could and applied for the ships. Lied through my teeth about my roulette experience. I think I'd been dealing roulette about 6 months, which means they probably put me on the table about 4 times with my hands. And you were supposed to have 2 years minimum to apply with Royal Caribbean or Celebrity. And they got hired, got out there, and my manager looked at me, and it was pretty bad. Here in Edmonton, as you all know, we deal roulette one direction. The wheel's always moving, the ball's always spinning in the same direction. It was always your right hand spinning the ball, etc., etc., etc. Well, the ship I got on, Song of America, had 2 roulette tables, a left-handed wheel and a right-handed wheel. And every spin, we stopped the wheel, reversed the direction, so spun the ball in the opposite direction. Well, but 30 seconds into my first shift, and Kim Blackie, my manager at the time, realized I was crap. But managed to struggle through it. There was an 11-month contract on the song because they were selling the ship at the end of it, and they really didn't want to let us go. So by the end of the 11 months, my skills were up to the minimum requirements, and I survived. And then the rest is history.
I remember I was talking to Lars one time, and you came up, and he had a really good compliment for you. He said you were probably one of the best ship dealers he'd ever worked with. this wasn't about dealing proficiency and skills and chip handling. It's just how you were with the players. He said you were one of the best he'd worked with on ships, which I think is an incredible accolade, to be honest. Because
absolutely, I think I'm blushing.
Yeah, so my question to you is, what do you think you did to begin, to be that good with the players on ships?
I've always had, I got to figure out where my camera is on here. I've always had, when I was a young man, first out of high school, I took at the time a very expensive. It was about $11,000 Dale Carnegie course in effective speaking and how to how to win friends and influence people and all of that. And it was like a 6-month program. And ever since then, I've been very comfortable speaking to people, speaking to supervisors, speaking to customers, just anybody really. And the hard part's getting me to shut up, not and to get me to use a filter once in a while. But yeah, I'm really. Lars was really good to me on the ships. He's a really good guy, and I've heard a number of times where he's complimented me to somebody else, and that's always been so appreciated to hear when that comes back.
Because
I was just going to say that. Oh, sorry, John.
Mike, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to say this, and I agree. Like, I mean, with Darrald's mannerisms and just the way he's able to talk to people and everything. But what struck out to me is you said you were young once, and I find that hard to believe. So
yeah,
I'm coming for you, Mike. I'm coming for you.
That's what I was going to ask you. When you first got into casinos, what was it like dealing when the Vietnam War was on?
Right. Well, John, it was back when you had hair. And actually, my first contract, and there's pictures out there, Tara arranged my 40th birthday on my first contract. And it was quite a night. So that's how old I was when I first started ships.
I think that is awesome, to be honest. A lot of people think that going on working on ships, it's you have to go up when you're young and you've missed this opportunity. I mean, like by the time you were 40, I mean, a lot of people would have thought, well, this is something that was an opportunity that I could never have I've missed. I've missed the boat, right? But that's so cool that you were like, you know what, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna do it, I want to do it. And you did it, man. I mean, like realistically, you weren't in casinos that long, right? And you went out. It's like, this is something I want to do. I want to experience. I think it's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, it was. It was a big step for sure. Go ahead, Mike.
No, you were one of the ones that paved the way for everybody else. I mean, you were probably before the mass exodus when John came into our casino and kind of fluttered everybody else. He's like, go away, go on ships.
Yeah, when I first went out, there'd been like 1 or 2 people come back and work at the palace that had, recently come off of ships, and there wasn't a lot of it. And it was all rumor and, I heard this about the ships and I heard that about the ships, and there wasn't a lot of firsthand information. So when Tara and I got hired, we went out to the same ship at the same time. It was like we didn't know what the hell was coming. We didn't have any information bank going for us at all. So it was actually, our first night in New York was scary as hell. I mean, they gave me a room in this hotel, and this Filipino guy shows up, and he comes in my room, and I'm thinking, like, who the heck is this? What's going on here? And yeah, I mean, they're just doubling up crew members, right? And this guy was actually on a completely different ship, and he had no money for food or anything. I ended up giving him like $50. Never did see the guy, obviously never saw him again, but it was just kind of surreal. This guy walks into my hotel room, and it's like, okay, what the hell's going on here? And stuff like that. It was just really interesting.
So I don't know if you remember this, that we met in a weird situation. Yeah. Do you remember that, how we first met?
Yeah, yeah. It was either Calgary or Toronto Airport. We were sitting at the bar, and I think you or I realized that the other one was Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, it was Toronto because we were both going back to Edmonton, and we had this like a nightmare journey going back, and we
Yeah.
met in a bar in Toronto, and I think I noticed you had like a Royal Caribbean bag or something,
That could be, yeah.
and I was like, "Hey, do you work for Royal Caribbean?" And we started talking at the bar, and we like it just happened to be like, "Oh my god, yeah, we work in the casinos. Yeah, we're going back to Edmonton." And then we got on a plane, and then we flew, and then we met up in Calgary, and we drank in the bar again, and our flights were just constantly delayed because of the weather.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we-
yeah. Yeah, that's right. I
Yeah,
remember that now.
so it was like, oh my god, this is like, here we are again. Let's carry on drinking. So then we drank every time we went though.
And then I didn't make your eyes bleed on a crap table for another 5 years.
Exactly.
See that is an amazing story, and it just how small the world is, and just what
I'm trying
ships
to-
do, and
trying to think of
it's
the
crazy.
older guy that used to run or own part of ABS, and I can't even think of his name anymore. I think he was the one that got robbed out of Argyle that one time. But I was walking
Hines.
down the street in Fort Lauderdale one time, and this is again, maybe I was on my second contract, and here this guy comes walking down the street. It's like, hang on, aren't you with ABS Casinos in Edmonton? Oh yeah, yeah. It was just surreal how you'd run into people in the middle of nowhere and go, hang on, like, aren't you from Vegreville? And it's just so funny that the world works out like that for you. Boy, that story went wrong in a hurry.
To be honest, I was just looking at this picture here. There's four of us here, and it's like a Sesame Street thing where one of these things is not like the other. There's Mike with hair, and there's three old bald guys.
Right.
We started doing a Sesame Street song. He's like, okay, yeah.
Well, and then you've got me, the one masculine guy, and then you guys.
Of course.
Okay,
Yeah,
Actually, I should have got three masculine guys and nightgown here.
Oh my! Oh. Low blow.
Oh, come on, Mike. You're due.
So,
I am.
Darrald, how long did you work for Royal Caribbean for?
Royal Caribbean and Celebrity is right in the neighborhood of 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Just maybe a little bit less. I missed my last ship, and I don't know if you guys were aware, but they were trying something where they were calling it yo-yo assistant managers. So I was, quote unquote, air quotes, senior suit. And what they would have me do, the manager would come on for 4 months and then go on 2 months vacation. The assistant would do the same and get 2 months vacation. The senior suit would come on for a 6-month contract, and he'd spend 4 of them as the relief assistant manager and then 2 as a suit, just to cover all those blank spots. Well, when I missed my last ship, the office says, "Oh yeah, sorry, we have to fill your spot. Blah blah blah. You have to go just as a suit. This yo-yo thing. You're not going to get that anymore." So it was like, yeah, okay, I'm done. That was the end of it.
So is that when you came back? That's kind of shitty that it ended that way. Was that when you came back? Because you and I worked together in the palace, right? Well, all of us.
Right. That's when I came back to the palace. Yeah. And the reason I missed the ship was this other story. I think maybe I typed it in for you guys a couple of weeks ago. Was I was going to Miami and I flew into change planes at Chicago. And for whatever reason, throughout the years after 9/11, my passport kept getting ranked up. At first, it was getting ranked up by immigration, and then Homeland Security got involved somehow. And so when I flew into Chicago, it was either a Friday afternoon or it must have been a Saturday afternoon around lunchtime or something. So the guys said, "Oh no, we can't let you in the country. Only their supervisor can do that. He's not coming in until Monday. So you've got a choice. You can fly back to Canada on the next flight. We'll hold you until blah blah blah, and then you go back to Canada, or you can wait until my supervisor comes in on Monday." So I waited, and I ended up in a little stainless steel cell for like the weekend. They wouldn't let me out. They brought food and everything else, but and that was how I ended up missing my ship, and why I've never been to the States since.
It's amazing having the middle name Osama bin Laden Ferber was a really detriment to you.
I know, right? And the powder fuse that I had in my pocket, right?
Exactly.
But apparently, it was something to do with me always flying in on one-way tickets. But we all did that, and we all had a contract when we did it. So I have no idea why they decided. And Royal Caribbean was pissed with them. They says, you're not supposed to do that. We got a deal, and it's all worked out. And yeah, they were completely unapologetic about it. And and once it's in Homeland Security's hands, that's it. It's never coming out of there.
Wow. Yeah, because I remember we always used to fly in with this, literally a one-way ticket, and here's whatever thing, and a contract. We're joining the ship tomorrow or today, whatever it was.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But my cross-border experiences got progressively worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And before Chicago, I missed one flight because of them. I managed to catch my ship anyways because there was enough of a layover and everything else. And then the Chicago one where it was like a day and a half or 2 days where I was literally locked up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've never been back to the States since. I won't take any flights. I won't do anything.
Are you just sneaking across the border like a runner?
I went to Cranbrook a couple of weeks ago, and I actually drove down to the border, and I looked at it, and I thought, nah, I'm not going to do it.
So Darrell, okay, so you were on a ship for 10 years. To be honest, that's longer than I was. I was there for 6, on and off over the years. So where were you? Hey, Serena, where were your favorite ports?
That's I get asked that all the time, and that is not a simple question because they were all great ports for different reasons. I love Key West. I love the Baltics. Alaska was great. Bermuda was amazing. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to make money, that's not the places you went, right? You wanted to make money, you went and did the Caribbean and Jamaica and Grand Cayman and Cozumel and all that, and as many sea days as possible, and you made money. But if you wanted to see the world, you went to the Med and you went to the Baltics and you did a new build and Key West and LA, the Mexican Riviera. I loved all of that stuff. So there was something for every port. I can't really think of many that I hated. Costa Maya, was that what it was called? I hated Costa Maya because there was nothing there.
Yeah.
It was like a sand dune, and that was it. Curacao, I wasn't a big fan. But Jamaica, I bet you I did Dunn's River Falls about 50 times. Every time somebody new came on the ship, it was like, okay, we're going to Dunn's River Falls. Just loved it.
I once, once going to Jamaica, it was around about Christmas time, and I bought my brother-in-law a Jamaican soccer shirt. I'm like, he likes soccer, I'll buy him a shirt, I'll ship it home for him for Christmas. And I went to walk back on the ship, and they were like, you can't bring that on. It was still in the wrapper. It was all, I bought it from like a legitimate store, and they were like, you can't bring it on. I was like, why? They were like, there could be drugs in it. I'm like, it's a shirt. It's all wrapped up, and like, nope, you can't. They wouldn't let me bring it on. So then I was like, you got to be kidding me. So then the security, I had to turn around. I had to find a post office somewhere, and then an envelope, and then mail it back to the UK from Jamaica because they wouldn't let me bring this like Jamaican soccer shirt on the ship. It was crazy.
I remember, I think it was Belize or Costa Rica, where we were sneaking off the ship and buying vodka and pouring the vodka into water bottles to bring back on the ship because they wouldn't let us bring any booze on the ship. Like, yeah, come on. And you're going up the gangway, and you know security's looking at you going, yeah, we already know that that's booze, but whatever. Take it. If I don't have to notice it, I won't.
But it was
That
great.
must-
You remember, like, we used to bring on food. I mean, I remember when we were in Harwich, like, in England, and you know, my wife and I, we go on a ship, we go to like Tesco's, we get so much food, and then we be coming up the gangway with all these like shopping bags of food, and they're like, food in there? No. And you can see it through the bags. They were like, no, we don't, no food here. You know, okay. And they go, okay, just see, go back on. It's great.
Might have been like the Voyager or something. I was coming up in the staff captain, British guy, and I was carrying a case of beer, and he looked at me and went, "That's non-alcoholic, right?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "What's your cabin number?" So I told him. He was knocking on the door at like 10 o'clock that night for a beer.
Do you know what the best security guards I have, like security people I work with on the ships, were always like ex-army guys, for like British Army guys, because they would do the stuff and they'd be like, "Oh, where are you going afterwards?" I'm like, "Just come to our place." I mean, I remember when we had a party in our cabin. It was on the Splendid. We were in Europe, and everybody's drunk, and we're in the corridor. It's all crazy, and then this announcement comes over that like somebody's tried to murder themselves in the cabin with a butcher knife. Literally, one of the casino people we found out had stabbed himself in the chest. And they're like, okay, there was whatever a medical emergency in the cabin, and we were sat there and we're like, oh my god. And then the security guard there, and he was so drunk, like, and he was like, hang on a minute, where's that? We're like, it's over there. So he had to, he literally was like, put his beard down, was like, I should walk over there. Walked over there, and this girl who, she'd broken up with the boyfriend, and she was a Canadian girl, and she stabbed herself in the chest. Luckily, she hit her chest bone, so it wasn't really serious. To be honest. And she was bleeding everywhere, and we're like, it all got serious then, and we're like, okay, we should pretend to be sober, but those are the most fun guys I work with in security. I had some other ones, like Greek ones, who didn't like me and most of the time fired me, to be honest.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so
sorry, honestly, I thought I had stories. I just feel I just feel low telling my stories now. That's insane.
To us, right? The problem is you're not telling us the good stories, Mike.
Oh, I've told a couple good stories. Just not the best ones.
Hey, Jer.
Hey, Jer.
Yeah, one thing about this channel is it's so nice to see the old names. I mean, we did that one reunion at West Edmonton Mall where 40 people showed up. Was a good night, right? But everybody's moved on. It's hard to gather people. Well, impossible to gather people right now. So it's nice on here to run into these faces and names and people, and touch base again.
I think like Jay, to his credit, set up that casino channel, and I remember before he set it up, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to do this. We're going to set it up. Maybe we'll get like one person. Like it'll be slow. Nobody's really going." And then it ballooned up, and it was like 1,500 people in like really quickly. And I think a lot of it was like to your point, that it's like, oh my god, I haven't, everyone's curious about what we, the people we used to work with and what are they doing now? And it's like, oh my god, Darrald, what's he doing? And it was so cool, because especially now because of the lockdown, we can't, connect, personally, and it was kind of a great way. And even this, to be honest, I mean, like, this is such a great way to kind of like connect with you. I mean, I've connected, we've like Facebook Messenger over the years, over the years quite often. We've kind of kept in touch, and we know what's going on. But to actually talk in real life and real time, it's so cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And Jay Lee too. I mean, he's sitting back there very quietly and not saying much, but
it's like a day off for me. It's nice. So.
Well, me too. It's my day off.
Sorry, one thing, you guys were talking about Lars, and that's what he said. So this was Lars. So giving him all these accolades. He's like, I've never heard of these people. So.
Tell Lars to buy a new car.
Yeah. Seriously, that 700,000 kilometers thing is crazy. So
yeah. What's even worse is that he's sitting there watching the odometer go over so he can take a picture of it. It probably took him a week.
I know.
But can you imagine though,
In
like,
front of the camera.
Yeah.
you know, lads would be like, oh my God. And he probably thought of this, like to your point, it's like, oh man, this will be a cool picture. But somehow we timed it, it was like 11:11.
Yeah.
And the odometer was like 6 million kilometers and 9 kilometers. So if you
Yeah,
flipped
but he was
it,
pulled over on the side of the highway for an hour and a half.
I saw your comment on Facebook. I thought, wow, that's crazy. It's just an inverted number. I can't remember what the name of it was. So that was.
He actually hates me because I go to his shows quite a bit and I heckle the crap out of him. I missed your backyard one though, John. I wanted to go, but I think I ended up getting called into work or something. That was that was I missed that.
It was my wife's 50th birthday, and I did a surprise. I was like, okay, I'm terrible at doing things for my wife, to be honest, like surprisey things. Most of the time I give her a gift and she's like, do you have the receipt? And I'm like, oh, here you go. So this time I was like, maybe I'll do like a surprise party. And somehow I pulled it off and we got catering. And I messaged Lars and I said, hey, Lars, are you available at this particular time? It's Rhonda's 50th birthday. And he's like, yep, and yep, I'll be there. We're available. Don't worry, we're going to be there. And it was amazing. It was. I will be bringing that up every time we have an argument forever.
Yeah.
Well, what about your 50th birthday? I did this. What did you do for mine? Which was 2 years ago.
So you're not going to take her to Subway and then order a sandwich and then turn to her and say, see, that's how it's done. Is that so hard?
Well, exactly.
Miami, really?
Miami, Vancouver,
$100
Bahamas. It was. I was the first time I went to Vancouver, my friend and I we flew out there from Bristol, and we spent the night the day before we joined the ship, and then we ended up going into this like a bar that was connected to a hotel. So there's me and him, and we're like, okay, let's go to the bar. We play pool. So we're playing pool, and I had this red denim jacket, and I still got it, strangely enough. And there was these two Canadian brothers there, and one was like super, super friendly, and one was like super, super like aggressive. And we're like, man, me and my friend, and he's a big guy, and we're like, I have a feeling we're going to get in a fight with these two guys here. And so we're like, okay. And they turned around to us. It's like, wait, consider like we were casino people and we drunk lots and we used to party and stuff like that. The aggressive one's like, I'm going to drink you under the table. We're like, okay. They go, we're going to go to the bar and we're going to drink tequila shots. And we're like, okay, let's go. So we walk up there and we ordered like, I think it was like 25. Me and my friend were like, okay, how many should we order? He was like, 4. I was like, each? Sure. So we ordered 16 shots and the guy was like, I meant between us. So we were like, okay. So we had like 16 shots, and the aggressive guy was like, he had one, and he's like, whoa, and then he goes, I'm done. So me and my friend drank the rest of them, and it was like, this is crazy. And then we went back, we were playing pool, and then the two brothers started to fight each other, and we were like, what? Is this? They were fighting, and then they got pulled out, and they left, because the security kicked them out. This was our first experience in Canada, and we're like, this is weird. Is this what people are like? So yeah, that was when you said Vancouver. That was my first impression of Vancouver. That it was filled with crazy people who didn't like to drink tequila.
Welcome to Canada.
Yeah,
I remember Kelly Cassidy and I went to Calgary. John Alder flew in to visit somebody. So, and he was British, obviously, he was from Britain. And so we took him out in Calgary to Cowboys and a couple of other of the other bars. And he sat there all night with like eyes the size of saucers, just looking around. And at the end of the night, I mean, we'd been drinking quite a bit, et cetera, and we're in the Fat Frank's lineup outside trying to get a hot dog. 2 feet of snow, and it was 20 below, and two guys in front of him. Oh, oi, what's your accent? And John says, oh, I'm from England. So, oh, you want to fight me? So John's going, no, like, what? He's freaking out. So these two guys, instead of fighting John, fought each other. John was quite happy because he walked past him and he was next in line for a hot dog.
This
See,
is a
it's
Canadian
crazy
thing.
people.
It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna grab water.
So, Darrell, okay, can you remember, your first shift on ships? Can you remember the first day when you were on ships?
Well, actually, what stands out for me, again, it was a Song of America. And Tara and I went before the casino opened onto the back deck for sail away from New York. I mean, what can you ask for better than that, right? And it was like, just to me, and I can still see it, the wake of the ship and New York fading off into the distance, and the fireboats were out there with the hoses going, and that to me was something that'll stay with me the rest of my life. And the smell of the salt air and all that stuff. But just sitting out there with the mahogany deck and mahogany rails and leaning on that rail and looking over at the ocean, very, very cool.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like, for the people who've had the opportunity to go and work on ships, like everybody on this call. I mean, I did New York too, and that was actually my wife and I. That was our last ship that we wanted to go on. We knew we were going to make no money, so we're like, okay, let's just do one that's easy. So we did New York, Bermuda, 3.5 days off a week in Bermuda, and the sail away from New York is just amazing, right? And then Bermuda is amazing, and it's just the opportunity. I mean, I think we were all very fortunate to have. I think it's all changed a lot now since. I mean, I left 20 years ago, and lots of us have, but it's still an amazing opportunity if you get the chance to do it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they started sailing out of Bayonne, New Jersey, which is not as attractive at all. I now understand the line, I see dead people. When you get to Bayonne, New Jersey, it's like, holy crap.
I once stayed in New Jersey. I once did a charter cruise out of what was it? It's in the Caribbean anyway, and it was the entire ship was chartered by New Jersey police, and they were awful, horrible people.
Yeah.
It was crazy. They were so rude that most of them didn't tip. They were just horrible. They kept saying, "You don't get. I've got my gun. I'm going to bring my gun," and we're like, dude, man, what the? They were just terrible. And we had an overnight in Cozumel, just because you mentioned Cozumel earlier too. And we were all the casino people were in Carlos and Charlie's, and at night, and everyone's drunk. And then a lot of these New Jersey cops came in, and they were like, "Oh, we recognize you." And you know what they're like? They're like, "Hey, you're on the ship," and they expect us to be all friendly, because by this point everybody's drunk, and we're like, no.
No.
They're like, what? Yeah. So we just told them exactly what it was like. We're like, yeah, you guys are jerks. You don't tip. You're rude. You're abusive. And they're like, well, that's how we are in the Jersey casinos. And we're like, yeah, but this is different. You like this. This is all we make. Right? And they were like, and it was weird. When we went back on, a lot of them were like, oh, yeah. And they kept saying, like, oh, you need to tip these guys because they make nothing if you don't tip them.
Yeah, that was something that was kind of surreal about working on ships too. I mean, I ended up claiming all of my income with the Canadian government, which was what, $350 a month, and then 30% of that is my tips, right? Was the legal requirement. You either have to keep accurate track or 30% of your income is tips. Well, okay, I can claim $100 a month as tips. And it was just, to me, it was surreal that how little we made, like, for our salaries.
I remember, like, my first 6 months on the Legend when I joined it. They used to, at the time then, it wasn't a cap on your bar bill. You could be whatever it was, but every time you got paid, it just went to your bar bill. And if there was, and if you, and then during that time, like that first 6 months, Royal Caribbean turned around and said, hang on a minute, we need to stop this. People are buying like $5,000 watches in the gift shop and stuff like that. So they're like, okay, every payday you have to pay it up. And I then for the next the entire 6 months, I never picked up my paper, my wages. They would give me my bill, my wage, and then I go to the next window with the cashiers, and they go, John, we need $250. I was like, but
Yeah.
you just yeah, on top of that. So yeah, so for 6 months, I never picked it up at all. It was a fun time, but I never had any money.
Well, that's the thing. When I started out there too, it was a bitch trying to get money home from out there. I mean,
Yep.
you had to, if you had to line up at the pursers to try to get a money order for whatever cash you wanted to send. Then you had to mail it home. I mean, it wasn't like now with internet banking. I mean, it was horrible. I was trying to cover a mortgage for a condo I had my mom in here. So, I mean, I had to get money home on a monthly basis. And yeah, it was really horrible.
Yeah.
I remember sending. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I remember sending those money orders back to. At the time, my wife and I I would save. I was a suit, so I would save my money and send it home, and then we would kind of live on hers. And when we get home, we went back to Britain one time, and I sent it all to my sisters. I was just hopefully that they actually got there. So we turned up, and I was like, fingers crossed, I got money.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
Yeah. And that's another thing, trying to explain people here in Canada, like casino people, what a suit is. And, oh, you mean a pit boss? Well, no. it's a little bit different.
Do you remember? I mean, it's a very British thing, and we don't do it in casinos over here, where they used to go.
Yeah, kiss up.
Yeah, remember that?
I do that here to see the head snap around in the casino because ship person.
And so many, literally for years afterwards, like me and my wife would be in like a mall, whatever, in a store. I mean, like trying to get attention. I'd be like, she'd do it to me, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I know what that is. But it was weird, like nobody else does it, and I don't know if it's a traditional like casino thing. It's a very British thing. And
Not Canadian.
on ships, but then. It's a crazy thing that makes complete sense.
Yeah. And exactly. I mean, you could be in Carlos and Charlie's at 12:30 at night. The place is steaming, and somebody just kissed up from 300 feet away. It's so distinctive, and you know exactly where it's coming from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was something that I never, it was because I started casinos when I was 18, way back when, and it was like they all did it. And they got it from somewhere, and every other casino I worked in, they all did it. I just thought it was just a casino thing. So I think it stemmed from maybe somewhere else, but I know, but a lot of British casinos do. But yeah, it was kind of a fun thing.
Well, I think the North American casinos probably had, less tables per pit boss. You know what I mean? So you're not calling somebody over from a distance. It's somebody that's already hovering over your shoulder. So, what's the point? Hey, yeah, that's $100.
That's funny because Mike still does that when we're working at the hospital together. So
I do.
It's carried over to a new industry now. So
I do it. I taught my wife this. I taught Esther this. So even in the supermarket, I'll go.
Yep.
Turns around.
Well, yeah, like we do at the casino here, and like heads just snap around. Yeah. It's hilarious. You put your head down, you kind of walk away because it's just funny.
But you can pretty much, like, if you do it here, you can pretty much identify who worked on ships.
Oh yeah,
or who was like some kind of British, because they'll actually be like, okay, it's like some weird code that we all know.
Well, and when you're in Canada and your head snaps around for that, they also know, oh yeah, you were on ships too.
Yeah.
Like I see Steve Ward at work, and I kiss up to him, and right off the bat, oh hey mate, that was another surreal one. I worked with Steve Ward, who was British/Irish, for a couple of contracts, and then one day I'm walking around one of the garage barns here at ETS. And he's coming down in this guy's coming down in a training class that looks identical. And I'm thinking, holy crap, you look like a friend of mine. He goes, oh, stop being such an idiot. That's me, So he had met a girl from here married a girl from Edmonton, moved here, and now he's working at ETS.
But that happened a lot. I mean, a lot of people from Edmonton went out there and married like British people, Irish people, whatever, like, and then brought them back. It's kind of like going to Mexico and bringing back, a pinata. They just came back. Hey, I'll just come back with a British guy.
Yeah, but you guys came back here. Like, I mean,
That's
you
true.
guys came back here. You came back here. You came back here in summer. Please just tell me you came back here in summer, at least.
The first time I came here was in August. Well, I came here. Yeah, it was in August, July time. Well, actually, it was just before K Days, whatever that is. It's like July, whatever.
Okay, July, yeah.
I'd heard like from all the Canadians I'd work with, and they were like from Edmonton. They're like, "Oh my God, you got to see K Days. It was great, and the casino's huge." And I was like, working in casinos, I'm like, "Oh, I want to go see it." And so as soon as we came in '98. My wife and I, Rhonda, we went there, and I was like, "What? This is it." It was the first year that casinos were open in the other parts of the city, so the KD casinos were like really small. And that's the first time I saw the wheel, and I was like, "What is that?
Is that the craps wheel or just the money wheel?"
No, the craps wheel. I was like, "What is that?"
I know.
I was like, "This is the craziest thing." The guy spinning the wheel, and they have a stick. I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me.
That's one of my two regrets. I'd love to be able to deal craps with that wheel. It'd just be hilarious. And then my other one is an opportunity to go on a ship to New Orleans for a floating casino or a floating hotel for Mardi Gras. And I opted out and I said, no, I'm going to go home. And then obviously the hurricane and everything. So it all changed after that. I never did get to go to New Orleans.
I was once offered saying that about, like, I'm sure we all have regrets about where we could have gone and opportunities we could have had. And one of them, I had a few. When I was working, I used to work on gambling ships too, when I was out of San Diego. And I got offered the similar ship, it was like a sister ship, to go work in Guam, like in Guam.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, man, I don't want to go. And to be honest, I listened to other people, and I'd never been to Guam. I never knew anyone who went there. But the people I worked with, like, oh, you don't want to go there. There's nothing there. It's just a stupid rock. It's an army base. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go there. And I ended up just going like on a stupid ship in the Caribbean. And I was like, afterwards, people were like, oh yeah, it was a lot of fun. Apart from when the hurricane there, and it almost sank the ship. But apart from that, it would have been a great laugh, right?
I'm trying to think. I got offered a job in St. Martin. Didn't, no regrets there. I would never want to work there. Got offered a job in Vegas, which would have been interesting because it was a cash job. So at that time, if you work for like 2 years and you keep enough money to pay your taxes and keep track of what you make and everything else, you get a green card. If basically you walk up after 2 years and you say, oh, here's my taxes, do you want it? And they either say, yeah, we'll take it, and they give you a number, or they say, get the hell out of the country. But I mean, that was 30 years ago or whatever it was, right? So things have changed a little bit.
So what casinos, like, where were you offered that job? Was it?
I'm trying to think. It was way the hell off the strip. It was a little crappy joint. I can't even think of the name of it now. But they were so impressed that we were multi-game dealers. At the time, everybody there was a one-game dealer,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got craps, I've got pie gow, I've got blah, 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 blah. The guy said, yeah, the guy's going, yeah, right. He gave me a table test. I was like, okay, when can you start? I said, well, I don't know. Sounded like a lot of work.
That's what I do find about that's different, from a lot of like when I speak to like the Heather and things like that from about the Vegas dealers, where they kind of train for, like, they pay. That's one thing that's different. They pay for one game, and they train
stupid amount of money too.
Yeah, for whatever game they want to do. Like, I want to be a craps dealer, and then they go and they train for that, and then they go but they don't know anything else. So they haven't learned anything else.
And they get a table, and that's their table. I mean, it's not like here at all. But the difference too is, I mean, and I don't know the numbers or anything, but blackjack, let's say it costs them 10 grand to go to that school, whereas craps is 100 grand. You know what I mean? Like the more esoteric the game is, the more they charge for training. But again, I'm talking from 20, 30 years ago, so who knows how much it's changed by now.
I think as well, though. I mean, the last time I went there was 10 years ago. I think it was 11 years ago. And in all honesty, I wasn't, all the casinos I went to, my wife and I, we went to like tons of them. I wasn't really impressed with the actual quality and the standard of the dealer, to be honest.
No.
Like I was expecting them to be like so much better, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to see these dealers. Maybe I can learn something from them or whatever.
No.
And I was like, admittedly, there were some good ones. I'm not trying to say they were all like bad, but there was a lot of them who were like, man, you're awful.
Saw a guy on roulette had some kind of picture bet, and he was airmailing the winning chips from each station across to the guy. Oh, you had 10 corners, that's 80 chips. Here you go, sir. Oh, you had 2 straight up, that's 70 chips. Here, and he was airmailing the chips across. It wasn't pushing. It was like, what the hell are you
But
doing?
did they have a calculator too to do that?
Yeah. Oh, surreal. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not a roulette dealer by any stretch of the imagination, but oh yeah, I could deal the crap out of that guy.
I remember I once went into a casino in Cairo in Egypt, and they were like, okay, everybody has to speak English. So the players had to speak English, the dealers had to speak English to the players. And so me and my buddy, we were both from Wales, and we've been in the business for a few years, and so we're pretty good. And we went there, and it was so funny. They were terrible. The dealers were terrible. All the payouts were wrong. I don't know if it was intentionally wrong or accidentally wrong, but you got people adding up the bets wrong, converting it into English, telling this other guy who probably doesn't speak English very well. He's like, oh, okay. And he was like, this doesn't make any sense at all. It was all the payouts were wrong, and they were just paying him. And he's like, oh, thank you, good. And it was like 247, and he was just random numbers they were shouting out. It wasn't even the right totals. And he was just passing tips. And me and my buddy were like, what the hell's going on here? This place is crazy.
Yeah, the British dealers had a system, and I never did figure it out. Villa tried to explain it to me one time. And it's station payouts. John, are you aware of that? Does that ring a bell with you?
Station payouts?
Station payouts. So he would figure out somehow by the number of stations that they were bet on, what the payout was from that. Like we do picture bets, but he was more like, okay, if you had 4 straight up on a corner, or you know what I mean, 4 on a corner, that would be 1/8 of a station or something along those lines. I never did understand it.
I like the place where I trained, it was all like strictly math. I mean, they were like, okay, you need to do it, figure it out. And I learned 1 to 10 on all of them, and just in my head I'd be like, okay, it's 30, I had a 0, I did But I worked in Israel, and it's a legal casino in Israel, and there was the pit, like the casino manager, whatever. All he knew was straight ups. So he would do like what you just said, like, okay, it's a split. I'll cut it in half. I'll put it on top. It's a corner. Or I'll cut it into quarters, and then I'll put it on top. So he would boil everything down till all the bet was just a straight up, and then he could figure it out. It was the weirdest thing. And we'd be like, okay, and we throw the bet away and stuff like that.
I'm just gonna make a cup of coffee. I'll be back.
All right, man.
Well, our guest is gone. So now, Mike, what do you want to say about him? I'm just kidding.
Oh, man, what should I say? I hope he comes back so he can actually hear it. In his age, he's got to,
Mike, he can barely hear you when he's here. He has no chance when he's not here.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really I love Darrald. I think he's a great guy. He was great in casinos. I don't think I ever saw him over the years that I worked with him ever see him get too annoyed. I just think he was such like he'll admit himself, he was never like the greatest dealer, but it doesn't matter. He was one of the, like, on a table, he was just great, right, with the players and with other, like, dealers. So it's not always, I think, about how, skilled and adept you are at dealing. Sometimes there's other factors that come into consideration, right? And
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And like, I mean, the first ship I was on, I was on there for a couple months, and Darrald came on as the suit for the ship, and I just remember him being able to go up to any table, and he could not only diffuse the situation, but just inject some laughter, inject some humor to a table, and just know when and what to say at the certain amount of times, right? And that's a talent in itself. I have seen him deal, and it is horrible. Okay, so but he does.
Oh my god! It was just
he
take your
does.
shot now.
I mean, we're talking. I mean, I did, choose one or the other. I choose Jack. This is the type of thing here.
ooh, that's a low bar to get over.
I hope they can hear this. No, but honestly, like, I mean, the way he dealt with customers, the way he dealt with not only customers but staff and other employees on the ship, and just the way he was, his mannerisms and everything. He was well adapted to everything. Like, I mean, he was the can I say the dad of the ship, maybe the grandfather of the ship. I don't know.
He's probably old enough to be the grandfather now of a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
I'm only hoping that he's wandered off and he hasn't forgotten where he's coming back to.
I know, seriously. We send
But,
Amber Alert.
Yeah, we could. But the thing is, like, Darrald's cool. I mean, we slam him, but it's a shame he's not here because it's way more fun when we can slam him through his face. But
It is, and I know he's got pictures and stories, so it's gonna come about. So it's not a.
oh, I'm sure he's gonna. And that's the thing. As soon as he comes back, I think he needs to tell more stories about you on ships that we haven't heard before.
That's true. Yeah.
Well, let's. I'm preying on a little bit of memory loss there, so we can,
Admittedly, that we're all getting a little bit older and our memories are a bit hazy now. So
Right. Like I say, I can remember Mike being drunk at some certain shade. Yeah, I was, but.
that doesn't narrow it down to a decade. What are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, come on.
Oh my god. Well, okay. So, since we have a little break here, I just want to tell everybody that for those of you that are watching, we are getting close to our 20th episode. And what we're going to do is something really special. So we're going to have a nice Christmas giveaway. And we've had a few people actually give us a lot of donations for prizes. So I think our top prize right now is $100, but we've been getting a few gift cards from different vendors. So it includes the Sport Check gift card, but it's actually a $50 gift card now. We still have to give away this Oncastic. I can't even say it. Oncastic painting? Encaustic.
Caustic. That is amazing, by the way.
It is. I still have to pick it up, and I always say that we're gonna do the draw, but I want it. I want a lot of entries in there, so I think we're gonna give it away as part of the Christmas episode, and as well as that, there's actually a few more things coming in as well. So it's gonna be a really good episode, and that will be on the 23rd. I think that's the Wednesday, the 23rd of December. So a couple days right before Christmas. So guys, tune in and, just participate in, and it'll be nice to have you on for that episode. Well, and the ones leading up to it as well. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Darrald, we were kind of slamming you. I just want to let you know it was funny, So now we have to tell you to your face. We thought you just got, you'd wandered off in your slippers and then forgot where we were and just didn't know what to come back to.
It's okay. I recorded you guys, so it's all good.
But
I didn't slam you, Darrell. I stuck up for you. Okay.
You are full of shit.
Exactly, Darrald. See, quickly he saw through Mike's bullshit.
Yeah.
I tried.
Darrald, I have a question for you. So I know, you've got your current job now and you've been there for quite a while. Would you think you would ever work back in casinos again?
Actually, it's one of the reasons I'm looking at Cranbrook. I know Bev is involved with the casino there, Bev Woods, and if I retired out there, it would be a place where I could go and have a little bit of an income. To do it, to go back and go into casinos again at the age I did the first time, 38 or whatever it was, without the prospect of going on the cruise ships, I don't think I would do it. Not as a main income.
We've spoken this before, like Jay and I think Mike too. We brought this up before. I think as a supplementary income, and not as a career choice. I think dealing in casinos is a pretty cool, a fun way to as a part-time job, right?
Cashing your pockets every 2 days, and easy money, really, but there's not a lot of it.
Yeah, if you turn around and you're like, okay, you know what, I only want to work every 2 weeks. There's no pressure involved anymore. You're not trying to get, be like, oh, I got to be super good so I can get promoted. You're like, you know what, I come in, I'm just gonna have a laugh. I'm gonna deal a game that I like to deal and with people that I like to be around. So I think.
Well, you didn't show up for work yesterday. Okay, so what? Well, you're fired. Okay, bye.
But though you can work on hitting your 6 hands per hour on blackjack.
Mike wants to play.
You need to tell Mike stories on ship then, because he's opened the floodgates.
Yeah, this one time in Cozumel.
What? Cozumel.
Well, just say it twice. He knows what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to go any further.
Well, why not? He's been bashing you 3 episodes now, and we've been waiting to get you on to have your retort. So
I'm a bigger man than that. Obviously, look at me.
No,
literally.
No, I'm going to take the high road here. I get truth of the matter is I'm so old that I can't really remember him. I just know he must have done some sketchy stuff.
I told you.
And the thing is, though, in all honesty, you were probably doing the same sketchy stuff that Mike was doing with him. You're like, Mike, you shouldn't do that, but it looks like fun.
Yeah, I know.
Oh no! Yeah. He was the angel on the floor, but a devil in my ear. Okay, that was
right. The angel on the floor because I was passed out in the cabin. Well, I think there's one picture of me where literally my legs are out in the corridor and I'm face down into my cabin. I didn't quite make it. Slept there for the night.
So you were 60% back at home. You're like, oh, I made it. I made it back to my cabin. Oh, 60% of me made it.
No, I remember, and Darrald was on. We were on 2 ships together actually, but
I think so. Yeah, Voyager.
My first ship. What's that?
Voyager and Adventure, or what?
Adventure and Voyager. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Got one right.
No, but I remember him coming on board, and knowing him, and we didn't work a lot together before he went on ships. I mean, I knew him. We knew each other, but going back on ships and having Darrald there was just. I know I can make fun of him, and he can make fun of me, but we're friends. The guy, he was amazing, and he's amazing to everybody. Honestly, I know he's going to hear this, so I guess I kind of erase this from the internet. But he was he was one of one of the top people you could work with on the ships at the time, and that includes the whole fleet. Okay, that includes the whole fleet. So Darrald was definitely up there, and that's no more blowing smoke. Okay, that's enough. I've complimented you enough.
Mike, thanks.
I like how you're talking in third person when he's like right here too. So it's like he's a great
I know.
guy.
From my perspective, Mike was an asshole, and I carried him all the time.
Yeah, he's like, I hated him.
Well, as long as you can console waitresses from the no-name bar, you're a good guy. Okay.
Just one at a time, though, right?
Yeah, one at a time.
Oh my gosh. You guys are
One of my favorite memories, again, that 40th birthday, they filled the casino corridor with balloons. It was on the slot count night, so they kept me up on the slot count. I was just pissed. The slot tech kept saying, oh, 10 more minutes, 10 more minutes. We were coming into LA. It was like 3 in the morning. They still didn't let me go. And finally, I'm sitting at the table waiting for him. And the tech comes out and he goes, oh, yeah, you know what? It's okay. You can go. I don't need you to sign this after all. He goes storming out down. I walk into our corridor and it's chest deep in balloons. And there's probably 15 cabins in our corridor. So that's how far they went with all these stupid balloons. We're drinking in there for a few hours, and obviously, I'm drinking a lot. We went out to back deck and drank some more. So now we're pulling into LA. The sun's coming up, and it's like, okay, I got to go back. I got to make sure to clean these balloons up and everything. And I get down there, and all the balloons are gone, and I'm thinking, you people are just so wonderful that you went and cleaned up all these balloons for me. And, I'm just blessed with this friendship from you people. And I passed out in my bunk and I woke up, I don't know how much longer later, to throw up. And I go into my bathroom and I'm heaving, and I open the door and the bathroom's full of balloons. It took me about a week to clean that up.
Oh my god.
Darrald, I don't know if you remember the Voyager, and I can't recall if you're on. I believe you're on because I think I have pictures of you in there. But when we tendered in Grand Cayman, and it was Canada Day coming up, and somehow I got on the ship's Canada Day committee, and it wasn't just dealers, it wasn't casino people, but there was a couple pursers and there was a couple other shoppies and everything, all Canadian and everything. And there was this liquor store or whatever, I can't remember what it was, but it was a place in Grand Cayman that sold Canadian beer, and they sent me and one of the pursers and one of the shoppies with $5,000 to grab Canadian alcohol. And I've got this picture, and I'll send it to Jay. I don't know if I can send it to Jay because there's a couple other people in the picture, but it's a tender port, okay? And we had the boat, the four of us, filled with alcohol, filled with kokanee, blue, Canadian, everything, and it was just the four of us tendering on this port. And I remember getting onto the port and watching all the passengers trying to get back to the ship. Just loading this up with alcohol.
It kind of rings a bell, but I don't know if that was maybe something you told me about afterwards or not. But yeah,
well, I don't know. I didn't. I remember you. I got pictures of you from the Canada Day parade or the party.
Right.
You were there at the party. I just don't know
yeah.
if you were there for that.
Yeah.
Cosmo.
Grand Cayman.
10.
Grand Cayman.
Grand Cayman, yeah.
Yeah, not Cosmo. Yeah.
Grand Cayman. Sorry. Did I say Cosmo? Grand Cayman.
Yeah, your head's stuck on Cozumel for some reason there, friend.
I thinking about no-name bar waitresses. I don't know.
So, Darrell, here's a question. I mean, like, you had you had a really cool and interesting career in casinos. Like, it's one because you started so later in life, and which it typically isn't what a lot of people do, and two, you did a lot of traveling and like some cool things too, right? So, what would you recommend, knowing what you know now, to anybody who wanted to go into casinos, no matter what their age?
Don't want to go into casinos.
Mm-hmm.
Have a backup plan. I mean, look at Alberta. BC's been closed for what, 6 months now? Who knows how well these casinos are going to survive? Look at the government of Alberta has now put their fingers into that online gaming. How is all of this going to start affecting these casino businesses? It was never a great job, a great place for security, benefits, that kind of thing. It's great as a secondary job. You're in school, you're studying to be this, you're studying to be that. You're saving up, waiting for a different opportunity. But as a career, I don't see a big future in casinos in Edmonton, in casinos. Unfortunately, I mean, I loved working in them. I loved my time in them. I liked doing the work itself. The people I worked with were all amazing, but I really feel that the number of tables in the casino is dwindling. The slots have a better return for less manpower usage and yada yada yada, all those background things that I don't know about. And I honestly think that live table games are a dinosaur right now. Unfortunately.
Well, that's interesting.
Looks like John disagrees with me.
No, I just wanted to say that was kind of a ray of hope. No, but I think I kind of tend to agree with you, to be honest. I think at some point things have to change in casinos in Edmonton and probably everywhere else too, to be honest, where all the casinos, I mean, we've spoken about this before on this channel, where all casinos can't do the same thing all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you say, for instance, if you want to go to a restaurant, you go to a specific restaurant for a specific thing, or a bar for specific things, right? I think at some point it'll be like, okay, I want to play high limit blackjack, and I'll go here, or high limit. You know what I mean? I think the casinos will now focus onto, maybe they reduce the tables, but then okay, those tables have to be more profitable, so they'll be more specific to the clientele they want to cater for. I don't think I mean, it's been a long time since K days, right? With the, okay, as soon as we open them, people will come and play. At some point, now I think it'll change, and I think the casinos have to change to keep those tables open, and dealers maybe have to be more, will go out to and learn more games and be better at them, because if there's fewer tables, there's fewer jobs, there's fewer opportunities. So you need to have more skills and better skills to be able to deal all these different games, right?
But at the same time, you have to have ownership that is more engaged in bringing up the level of the talent rather than just plug and play. Go stand on that table, deal 60 hands in whatever period of time, and then we'll put the next guy on there. I don't really, mid management. Yeah, like we're always engaged in, oh, Darrald, do you want to try this? Or Jaylee, let's move you into this class or whatever. But ownership, I've never felt that ownership of the casino and high level management of the casinos had any interest other than the bottom line, right? Oh, we had this blackjack table and its profits have dropped off over the last 2 months, and it's all numbers. It's all number crunching. There's no personality. They're not interested in any personality.
I have to speak to that a little bit, and I don't know. I guess we're a little old and everything, but as soon as the corporations started taking over the casinos, when they were individually owned, I know we were owned by an individual who was pretty good, who was pretty hands off actually. And yeah, he was concerned about the bottom line. It's his business, but I mean, we had a good run of the casino, right? Just it was kind of like a family casino, and as soon as the corporations started getting involved, and when the dollar is the bottom line, and I get it, I understand it, I understand how the dollar is the bottom line, but I think how they get there, and the hands per hour, and the strict dealing with you have a stick up your back, and that's it. It's straight dealing. That's it. Don't say a word. I think you lose a lot of individuality and um, customer service, really,
Yeah,
when that happened, right?
absolutely. Back when everybody closed for K-Days, John, you mentioned that earlier. I mean, the casinos were a destination. It was a night out. It was some fun. And yeah, I mean, you still had people playing with their rent money and stuff like that. And in the cities, you always will. But once the casinos were 24/7, I think we just lost so much of the flavor of the business.
I kind of agree with, actually, I agree with all of you. I think there's too many casinos in Edmonton. I think there's too many casinos trying to do the same thing, which, in the, I've worked in, well, when I first worked in casinos, it was 33 years ago, and I'd never heard of a casino that had to close, shut down for days because they weren't making any money. I mean, like, it's just crazy, right? So I think there has to be change in the business model they have, right? It can, especially now in Edmonton and the crazy things that happen in Alberta, it can't continue being the same way. There has to be making changes. You need, and all businesses too. I mean, if you look at it, right? I mean, if you want to what is your, I mean, if realistically, I remember when I first came into Canada, and I worked in a craps in West Edmonton Mall in the Palace, and if anybody said, what's our competitive advantage when it comes to craps, I'd be like, man, these guys are so good. The dealers are so good. The game is run really quickly. I mean, it's amazing. The craps, like, we had a better craps game than every other place, right? So it was always busy. So all the crapsters want to go there because they want to play on this game. The deals were great. The atmosphere was great. It was run really well, and it was just great. At some point, these casinos need to decide that, I think anyway, maybe wrong, that if you want to make money, you have to be different, right? You have to, what are you going to do? Because continue doing the same thing and relying on people just walking in, I don't think it's going to work. And pay people more. Pay people more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's do things. Bring in WPTs. Do something to engage the people. And again, with what's going on right now with COVID-19, I mean, this is all very, very hypothetical. I feel so sorry for anybody that's in the business right now. I don't know how they're feeding their families and stuff. It's horrible what they're going through.
Yeah, this is I mean, like, sorry, Mike, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you're right. It's and besides COVID-19, I think the casino industry has fallen off a little before that. I mean, there was definitely profit to be made there, but the whole. Don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna say I don't like giving money to charities or anything, and I don't think they're worth it. But I think the charity model is antiquated. I think it needs to be updated, and that starts with the HLC too. Maybe that, and I just don't know how to inject a complete life back into the industry.
Let's see how much this online gambling with the Alberta government hurts the casinos. I mean, it just came online, about a month ago, and they've got a lot of people visiting their site now. Is it because they're locked up at home and they can't go to work? I don't know. But yeah, let's see what that looks like in 2 years.
But don't you think this is an opportunity? You know, like I always think, you know, I'm not the type of, you know, half glass full, but this is an opportunity to change, right? You have to evolve. Everything has to evolve, right? Okay, so now, okay, online gaming, it's going to come in. That's going to take a portion of people's, you know, disposable income when everything's back to normal. Okay, their disposable income, maybe they'll play online, play on slots and stuff like that. That's a very solo, isolated kind of way to gamble. But gambling for a lot of people is, like I mentioned earlier, it was like, hey, let's go there, and it's the social aspect, you know, to have fun with your friends or other players that you just know them because you know them from the casino, or you know these guys in the casino, and you come in and you know this is your social life. You come in, right? So I think that part can never be replaced by online gambling, because people want that interaction and they want to be able to like come in and go, hey Jay, how's it going? How's everything? And like, Darrald, man, how's everything going? How's your dog? And you know what I mean? Like, and you know, it's the social aspect that you can't really, you know, replicate with like just online gambling. It's like when we, like Darrald, you mentioned earlier, when, remember like 4 years ago when we all went to the Palace, no, the Sherlock Holmes in Westminster Mall.
Yeah.
I mean, that was great. I mean, there was like 50 of us, whatever it was, all from the Palace. I mean, it was so cool. And it's like, oh my God, we haven't seen each other for a long time. You could never do that on a video call because only one person can talk at a time for the most part, right? It would be, the experience wouldn't be the same.
Especially if you're in it because you never shut up.
I know.
Oh,
wow.
But hopefully you're right.
Oh, I thought he was just going to go after me today, but okay.
No, Mike. I, you know, you've brought a knife to a gunfight. Hopefully you're right about the social aspect and the live experience saving, let's put it this way, saving the casinos in Alberta, BC, et cetera, but you're right, something's got to change, and the AGLC has got such a hammerlock on anything that happens in the casinos that it's a steep hill that you've got to fight up to get those changes. I mean, look at what it took Arden and Sean to get Payouts tiles. I mean, it was almost impossible. What was Sean's last name?
We'll tell you later.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. We don't use last names.
Yeah, that was a different one.
This is the internet, Granddad. It stays on.
Yeah, no, not that, Sean. I don't talk about him.
Out of respect.
But I think, to be honest, though, some of the onus as well is it's not so much like, okay, the AGLC needs to, you know, front more money to the casinos, because how much of that is going to filter down to the players. But at some point, the casinos themselves should be like, how do we reward and recognize our staff? You know what I mean? Like, you know, we mentioned earlier on, and it said like, you know, Darrald was, you know, was really great, hands of stone, but he was really great with the players. So how do we like recognize you, right? It's not like the dealing ability, because you can pick up chips, you know, in an hour. But do you know what I mean? It's like, how do we reward? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like, oh, look at him, you know, hands of stone. But I mean, like, that's something that the casino can do themselves. Have this, okay, like, we need to reward and recognize you, and create the behavior that you want to, you know, you want to encourage and for the players to enjoy, right? So some of it, the casinos themselves, I think, are at fault, because in all honesty, I think some of them are like, we don't care. Yeah. We open the doors and we make money.
Yeah, once you get past the middle management that are engaged with your staff, once you get above that level, yeah, I'm sorry, but I just don't see them really caring. You know, it's, oh, we won last night, good. You know, and that's the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's going to be exceptions to all of that, but I think the overall bureaucratic look at the casinos is, like you say, John, not a model that's going to be successful for much longer.
Okay. So, sorry, John. Do you want to go?
Oh, just one last thing. Years ago, must have been about 20 years ago, we had a I was working on a ship, and they brought in a consultant, and it was about customer experience. This consultant guy came on, and he was like, okay, you should do this, and how we can change things in the casino, and da-da-da. And he'd worked all over the world, and they paid him like $1 zillion. And he turned around, and a lot of the stuff made sense, but the one thing I remember the most, he turned around and he said, if Disney decided to open casinos, every other casino in the world will fail, because they know about the experience and creating this amazing experience, right? So, and that stuck with me. I mean, like, casinos are not in that mindset. I mean, if they had I know it's cheesy, but the Disney kind of like the experience mindset, you would just be fighting off the people, right?
No, you're right.
Destination.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah, not a gambling house, a destination. A destination. I think that's what Argyle, Yellowhead, Palace, they used to be destinations, right? I mean, they were smaller, but they seem more vibrant at the same time too. I don't know how to explain it, but it just they had a little bit more of an aura to them. And now it's a place where you can gamble. That's what casinos are now. River Cree does it well, but they have a different setup than everybody else, so obviously they're going to do it a little more. But if you want to gamble, you're going to gamble. I don't know if you have any entertainment from it, but you can gamble in the city. I don't know if I consider that entertainment anymore.
I miss the private poker clubs. They were hilarious.
What? There were private poker clubs in?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Legal ones. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
don't know what you're talking about. I see the ones downtown. Right?
Yeah. What was his name? On the third floor there?
Oh God, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, so Darrald, here's my question. I believe we have a guest for next week, and I just talked with her. She's part of the other group that John and I have joined not that long ago. They're a little more American, but she's actually from Alberta. And what got me excited was the fact that she was an all games dealer, and she was 22. I don't know if I'm allowed to. Well, I can say that because I didn't say who she was, but she's young, right? And to have all games at that age, I'll tell you right now, like where I'm working, I think there's 4 of us that are all games. So it's kind of, for me, it's just like a unicorn basically, because you never see that as we did like long time ago, where there's people that wanted to learn games and whatnot. I believe this person is happy with what she's doing right now. She enjoys her job. So then what direction would you suggest she go? Like, did you appreciate your time on the ships? Is it something that you would recommend over her maybe staying here and developing? Remember, this person is happy with her position and her job, and she's doing great. So she can move up. She has the ability. She has the knowledge, and she just has to pick up the experience. And she could be a future games manager.
You know, I have absolutely no regrets of working on ships. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I started when I was 40, was maybe a little too old. Her at 22 might be a little too young. I don't know her personality or anything like that. Is she, if she's like a party girl or something, it maybe would not be a great fit to go out there. Mike is a testament to that. But my time on the ships, I didn't really get a lot of equity. I got a lot of experience that I would never turn back, and I don't regret for an instant. So, I mean, it's a choice. Somebody like her going on the ships now for however long, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, for that experience, because she's going to see dealers from all over the world. and a whole different set of skill levels. She's going to learn a lot of PR from different people around the world that she would never learn here. But if she's in a stable job now where she sees an upward trajectory, maybe that's a better fit for her. Or talk to the management there and say, listen, you know what? Here's my 5-year plan. I want to go on cruise ships for 3 years to increase my level of experience to bring back to the table here. How do you feel about that? Right? So again, it's not something you can recommend to somebody. It's, too many coin flips.
Oh, sorry, Jay, go ahead.
Sorry, just yeah. Well, this question could be for all of you. Could you make a career out of just staying on the ships and working there?
I could. My liver couldn't.
That's probably the best spoken sentence today. Yeah. Sorry, John, you want to go? Go.
Well, like when I told you that story earlier, like me and my friend went to join Royal Caribbean in Vancouver in 1996. My friend's still there now. He never left, right? He's a manager, whatever. He's been a manager for probably 15 years, probably. And when you get up to that level, the money's very good, right? You guys know that. I mean, they make a lot of good money. And then, to be honest, once you get up to that stud, it's hard to leave. Because you know what it's like when you leave and you go and all of a sudden the perks you get, the money you get is tax free, and all of a sudden he's like, how do I give this up? Work 4 months 4 months on, 2 months off, and I'm getting paid and get paid for those 2 months too, and I'm making a big chunk of change on those 4 months that I work, and I realistically I pay for nothing. It's hard to get. You become institutionalized, to be honest, right? So it is hard. It's and it's. I know, from talking to my friends, the whole life experience it's changed from when we were there and partying and things like that. And you never see corridor parties, and now there's rarely people in the crew bar, and the whole, social aspect has changed, which is sad, to be honest. But in all honesty, that's also changed in Edmonton too, right? I mean, there's not the ability to go and sit around and say, hey man, let's have a few drinks after work and have a laugh, right? When you finish at 2 now, because of things like that. But I think, for me anyway, just to your point, Jay, I think the opportunity every single casino person has, and Darrald is the shining example of it, no matter what your age is, you have the ability to go and travel and see the world, which literally few jobs gives you that opportunity, right? And if you choose to do this, then it's an amazing opportunity. If not, then you kind of build your career at home, right, or whatever it is.
And the two things that strike me too, I mean, when I finally did pull the trigger and said, okay, that's it, I went back to the palace, blah, blah, blah. Do you know how much of a relief it was to actually unpack my suitcase? I found stuff at the bottom of my suitcase from like 4 years before, and just to like hang up my clothes. And it was like a big weight off of my shoulders when the decision was made. The famous No Name T-shirt was, I swear to God, this is my last contract, and it never is, because you go home and you got your 12 weeks holidays and you go blow all your money in the first 3 weeks. You call Royal Caribbean and say, yeah, you got a ship for me next week, and oh sure, come on out, and you're on the hook for another 6 months.
Yeah, Insane has, much as the four of us decided in one way or another not to make it a career or our lives, there are a lot of opportunities to do that, and it can take you all over the world. It's a really unique job and a unique industry in that way, and in that aspect that and going back, Darrald, you were offered a job in Vegas and the Bahamas, and John taking you all over the world, Jay all over, at least Alberta and parts of the world too. I know I had an opportunity to work on the dailies out of Miami, and I gave that up too. But there's chances to really go with this industry if you want to. And I mean, it's changed a lot from when we've been doing it, but there's still opportunity. You just have to maybe you have to search a little harder for it. But I think if you're willing, you can make this a career, and you can make it a good career too. Because people have, and we all know people who have, and are still in the industry who's made this career. So I don't want to stop anybody from saying, "Hey, slow down. You're not going to have a good time," because that's not exactly true. You can make this a career.
Absolutely. Oh, Wyatt. Hi, Wyatt.
Hey, Wyatt.
Discipline. What's discipline?
Oh, I got discipline a lot. Oh,
I
written
think
form,
Mike had discipline going in his cabin too.
Yeah.
but I think sometimes
You're right.
especially like ships, especially casinos, it's a challenge in life. It's sometimes you need to not look at like where you are right now. There's opportunities everywhere, right? I mean, because for me, I'd be like, I'm not happy right here, right now, and I'd be like, I'm gone, and I would leave. I literally sometimes during the shift, I'd be like, yeah, man, I'm done with this. See you later, and I'd walk out, and I just find it. I phone up and I get a job the next day, right? It's like I didn't care. I would travel, I would just move around, right? So I think if you're open enough and willing to move and to travel. I mean, I had friends of mine who worked in, all over the place, like Africa and some sketchy places, in South Africa. And he's like, yeah, man, let's just go and travel, because he wanted to see the place. And these are experiences like all of us have that, from where we worked and what we've seen and what we've done, that we can never replace, right? We could never pay for that experience ever again.
Right.
And back in the day too, I mean, you'd get fed up with one ship in Miami, and you pack your bags, you walk down the gangway, and you walk down to the next ship, and you go, yeah, you guys hiring? Yeah, we got a spot. And away you go. But again, that was 40 years ago, right? God, that's a long time ago.
Hi, Joni. That's who that is.
Reese?
Oh,
Joni?
Joni, I would have taken
Hi,
you with
Joni.
me.
Hey, Johnny, how's it going?
Here's a question. I believe it's chances of working on the ships during COVID, Luis. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's 0.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I read recently that Royal Caribbean have cancelled any cruise ship that's longer than any cruise that's longer than 7 days.
I would have thought they should go the other way and not do the shorter cruises, do the mid, the 10 to 14 day cruises where you've got more well-to-do passengers. You wouldn't want to go to the 20-day cruises because that's problematic, people with probably underlying health problems. But you go with the 5 and 4 day cruises, and yeah, you're just a petri dish waiting to happen.
But in all honesty, though, I mean, cruise ships have been like petri dishes for years. I mean, I was in Bermuda a long time ago when there was a cruise ship that was Horizon One where they had Legionnaire's disease on it. Right. And, they had to literally disembark the entire
Code Brown.
passengers. And, the crew stayed on and they disinfected everything. They're like, oh, we don't care about the crew. Oh, you'll survive. The crew, the passengers, they put them in hotels, and there was Legionnaires. And there's always been these kind of like outbreaks, and on cruise ships. It's not something new.
Yeah. I remember us getting locked up in if you or your cabin mate got diarrhea, whoever had the diarrhea got locked up in a passenger cabin for 4 days or something. You got locked up because you were in close contact. You got locked up in your cabin for 24 hours.
48 hours.
Was that what it was? 48?
Yeah.
Code Brown. And it was like just ridiculous.
I remember going back, and there's a story. I was on a
ship.
A ship. Whatever. I can't remember what ship. I think it was it was the Mariner. I think. But my roommate at the time, I saw him. He was dealing down the table for me, and I saw him. He had to get brushed off the table. We had a little bout of Norwalk going through the casino, and he's got to throw up and everything. He asked to be taken off the table and everything, and he leaves the table. I'm like, oh shit, right? I look at the suit there, and it's Phil, the good old Phil. I'm like, is he going? Yeah, he's throwing up. He's going to be quarantined. We stuck for 48 hours. I'm like, you're going to get me off the table. Why? I have no beer in my cabin. I gotta go get beer. So got me off the table. I ran up to the crew bar. I got like 5 cases of Corona, a couple other stuff. Speaking of Corona now. Anyways, put it back down, and sure enough, like 15 minutes later, you're quarantined to your cabin for 48 hours. Yeah, okay, I'm good. Thanks.
I remember doing drop and runs at, the passenger cabins where they were locked up and knocking on the door, leaving the case of beer and running away,
Oh my god. So guys, this was Danielle. So Danielle, I was just talking about you and just the fact that it's rare to see someone be an all games dealer basically. So what do you want to see yourself doing in 5 years? If you're still on, I don't know if you jumped off or not, but what kind of career move are you looking for? Are you looking for just staying and moving up at your casino, or do you think about the ships? Because there's a lot of directions you can go with it. So,
and I'm sure just in this channel,
you said she was American.
No, Albertan.
Yeah, she works in
Albertan. Okay.
Yeah. So in one of our sister casinos. So she's a cousin.
There's actually enough talent just on this site to get somebody like that contacts in, Gibraltar and Greece and worldwide casinos. Seychelles,
Mm-hmm.
St. Martin, Aruba. Well, that was another place I got offered a job, was Aruba.
Oh, that's cool. You could have worn one of those microphones in the mall there, and you could have been like announcing all the numbers on the dice table. How fun would that have been?
I wanted to drive that speedboat out of the hotel there in Aruba.
Oh, the Crystal Palace.
That's what it is. Yeah, that speedboat.
Bob Blue is what Bob Blue is in Russia.
We're gonna have to ask him that when he's on. So
he's at the Pompanon.
Hollywood Nights, St. Petersburg.
Hollywood Nights,
St.
Petersburg. Oh my God, I have a long story about getting arrested.
I've got a short one, so I'll go first. You buy in for $100 US, so they'd give you 100 US in chips and a little receipt. And so if you went to cash out at the end of the night and you had more than $100, they'd only give you 100 US, and then they'd give you the rest in rubles. Well, okay, what the hell are we going to do with these rubles? So, well, if you go to this window, you go out the door here and you turn left and you turn left again, you can exchange your rubles back for US dollars. So you do that, and you go around to another window, and literally the same girl would come to that window and change your rubles to US dollars for you. So what they were doing was hitting you on the exchange rate twice. But what we started doing just to piss them off, well, not to piss them off, but it kind of upset them. We just cash in our $100 and then keep the rest of the chips until the next time we were in town. The Russians were upset with us. What's your long story, John?
Oh no, I won't tell all of it, but it involves it's kind of crazy. One of the crazy experiences I ever had on ships, to be honest. It involved being arrested, almost deported. Yeah, it was crazy. But to your point in the casinos, I remember going to a nightclub in St. Petersburg, and you couldn't pay at the bar for in dollars, so you'd have to go to the exchange kiosk in the nightclub, a Nevsky Prospect, whatever it was, and then you just get ripped. You had no idea what the exchange was like. Oh, it's all dark. I give them dollars, they give me a fistful of rubles. I would go pay, and I'm like, oh, I need more, and he'd literally get ripped off at the bar, at the thing. You know what I mean? It was just crazy. They were very good at it. So Russia was fun. It was a weird experience, but definitely was ripped off a lot.
Russia was a crazy experience, and I'll send Jay some pictures. I don't know if they can post it because you're gonna have to blank out some people's names, but yeah, I've got military police escorting me out of the Red Square in Moscow. So I mean, I think we all have some Russia stories.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we had our passports stolen. I left my passport in the nightclub, well, the fanny pack. Remember, I don't know if they were still doing it when you were there, when you had to go through like the immigration
Yep.
before you got off the ship, and then you got
Yeah.
onto the dodgy little
Seaman's passport.
yeah, and
The
then you got off,
trolley.
and then you got off. No, they gave us the actual real passports. We had to literally sign off.
Oh,
go
yeah,
through
yeah,
the
that's
immigration, and then we go through, and then be like some military guy would drive us to the boat, like the gate at the
Right.
port, and then you get
Right.
in a real taxi and whatever. My wife and I, we went out, and it was her birthday, and it was all kind of crazy. And we ended up in this nightclub, and she said, "Hey, John, hold the fanny pack," and it had my passport, her passport, driver's license, her birth certificate, Canadian, I-95s, crew passes, money, everything, cards. And she gave it to me, and I was stood at the bar, really, really drunk. And at some point, I thought it was a good idea to just leave it on the floor. And then we came back to the ship, and the security guards, whatever, the immigration customs guys were like, "Well, where's your passports?" We're like, "Oh my God, I left it at the ship." Sorry, at the nightclub. And then they're like, "Oh, you have no proof of being legally coming into Russia." So they were going to fine the ship $100,000 from myself and Rhonda, and we're like, "What?" So we were like so drunk, and we're like, "This is going bad real quickly." And we went down to the staff captain was like, "Okay, you need to go to your cabin, my wife and I, and you come back. We'll try and sort this out." So we went back, and by this point it's like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we were supposed to be like an hour. We went back to our cabin, fell asleep, and then they came like about an hour and a half later. They came knocking on our door and to wake us up. And we woke up. You know, like when you wake up and it's like the bed head, squashed, and Rhonda's eye, one of them was closed, and her hair was all kind of messy. And we're like, okay, so we had to go and get our crew passes taken. And again, we're like, it was like a Nick Nolte mugshot. It was just terrible. And that was our new bus pass, our crew pass. And they were like, we had to go see the captain, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, we were going to be fined $100,000, but we bribed the security, like the immigration guys, customized, whatever they were, with I think 2 bottles of Canadian Club, and they didn't, yeah, they let you through, but you need to go to your embassy day after tomorrow when we were in Copenhagen to get new passports." So we got off, and then I went to Canadian embassy. Were awesome. Rhonda went in, got a passport. I went to the British one. They were like, "Well, where's your police report?" I was like, "What? I'm not even in the same country. What are you talking about?" So they went, "Oh, we can't do nothing until you give us a police report." So then I had to report my passport stolen in Copenhagen to get a police report to get my passport in Copenhagen. So yeah, it was a freaking nightmare. Yeah. So eventually I did get it, but it was an absolute gong show. It was crazy. So cut a long story short, that was a birthday that my wife will never forget.
Wow. I remember leaving. It wasn't my passport, because I remember them giving you the passport, but you also have the Siemens visa in Russia too. And I remember leaving that at I think the Tinkoff bar after a couple of absinthe shots or something like that. But I remember it was really late, and I had to go. And this is St. Petersburg, and you had to go back to get to get through the security gates at the port, because they're
Right.
the port's like 2 miles from the ship or whatever it is. But I remember having to race back in this taxi going nuts, because it's a canal city, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the bridges go up, and you can't get to certain places when the bridges go up. So you have a certain amount of time to get back. And I'm paying this taxi driver no, he's driving on 2 wheels going up and stuff. It's kind of crazy, but I think we're gonna have an episode of Russia stories or something here.
Well, it's Russia. St. Petersburg is the only place I've seen a taxi driver pull a gun out and blow a round off into the air. They were the mafia taxis that were right at the ship. And so we were asking him how much to take us downtown. He was saying $50 US or something ridiculous. And it was like, oh no, screw you. We'll get on the trolley. So we hopped on the trolley that took you to the edge of the port authority or whatever you want to call it. And went through the security gates there, and we're approaching a normal cab that was going to charge us $7 US for the same thing. And this mafia cab had followed us all the way out to the gate. And luckily he was on the other side of the gate. And he pulled out a gun and he blew a round off. And he says, "Oh, you know, basically, you guys get back into this goddamn cab." And our cab driver on the outside is yelling at us to jump in the car to drive away. So,
guys, I'll be right back. Okay.
Okay.
no.
Here's a question for you, Darrald. So this is from Danielle again. Do the ships have all the games or just Blackjack Roulette Ultimate?
Obviously, space on the ships is very limited, but Blackjack Roulette for sure. A lot of them have craps. I don't know that any of them are having poker yet. I know there's poker cruises. But yeah, that's about it. Some Caribbean stud and whatnot, depending on the ship. I don't know how much that's expanded since I left.
Mm-hmm. So, the other question: how did you, when you were doing it, how did you go about getting onto the ships?
Well, they did a table test. No, the table test was in Vancouver. So there's a hiring partner in Vancouver. And I can't think of what her name, Kimberly something. I'm sure people that are a little more recent would have better information on that. But every country has got a hiring partner. And in Canada at the time, she was out of Vancouver, and she would arrange a table test and an interview and your seaman's medical and that sort of thing. So I had to fly to Vancouver for a table test and then an interview at the same time. Came back to Edmonton, eventually got a letter saying that I'd been hired. I'd be available to go to the Song of America on whatever date. And I had to be in Vancouver a couple of days before that to do a seaman's medical because that wasn't available here in Edmonton. And if that was all good, then I would have fly from Edmonton or from Vancouver to New York and join the ship. But I can't think of the name of her business there in Vancouver. But I'm sure that information would be out there.
I think it's like Just Cruising. I think that's what it was.
That sounds very familiar. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot her last name too. But I don't know if that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean that was again a long time ago.
Yeah.
30 years, 25. Yeah, whatever.
But you know, like after, because then when you came, then when I went, it was still the same person. So it was still the process, like with like the physical and whatnot too, right? So yeah, it's the first time someone took blood from me, like, and they were just little tiny vials, but I was getting all dizzy. I was like about to pass out, and it's just like, is it done yet? It's just like one half of a vial, and I'm like, I'm feeling really dizzy. I need to lie down.
I went for a medical in Cozumel, and so I go in for the blood work, and there was like a lot of blue guys, you know, from a lot of Filipinos were in the waiting room waiting for their turn to go in. So when I came out, I clapped they took it out of my neck. And this room emptied, you know, in 2 seconds flat. Funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Are you talking about medicals, like ship medicals?
Yeah.
First ship I ever went to work on. So like, and I'd never had medicals either. I was like 21. They flew me out to Cape Canaveral, and I went to the medical center there. And before I went, all my friends who'd been on ships before, they're like, "Oh my God, you're gonna get the whole finger up." And I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God." So anyway, so I go in there, and they gave me the whole, the the blue gown that zips up, that ties up at the back.
Yeah.
So I go in it and I'm sat on the thing and I'm just dreading it. I was just like that. Oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? I'm just dreading it. I'm just dreading it. And then the doctor walked in and he didn't say anything. He just stood there and I walked up to him and then I did this. I turned around. I'm bent over and he went, "What are you doing?" I was like, and I didn't move. This is how stupid I was. I didn't move. So I was still like this. And I was like, "What?" He goes, "What are you doing?" So then I still bent. I pivoted around, and then I stood up, and he went, and then he stuck his hand out, and he went, "Cough." I was like, "Fuck." Exactly. He was. I've never been so embarrassed in my entire life. That was 30 years ago, and I still remember this to this day. I was like, "Oh my God!" I was so embarrassed. It was so funny.
Oh,
Oh God,
Oh my God.
that is so funny, John.
we had so much fun out there.
Oh man.
It was-
I once got my hand talking to doctors because things spring up, right? I once on this was the same ship. When I got on the ship, it was a Premier cruise ship. We used to do 3 and 4 days to Cape Canaveral to the Abacos, and I remember waking up one day and during the night before, in a party, whatever, I got my thumb caught in like the fire doors, whatever. They were big heavy ones that slammed.
watertight doors.
Yeah, not the watertight. Yeah, but anyway, I woke up the next day and my thumbnail was completely black, right? And it was throbbing like hell. And I was like, "Oh my God, what the heck?" And I vaguely remember, I said, "Oh my God, I remember that door slammed on it. It hurt so much." And anyway, I went to, and I used to know the doctor on the ship really well. She was super nice. And anyway, so I went and we were having lunch, and I was talking to the nurse, and the doctor was there too. And I was like, "Oh, look what happened to me last night. My thumb is all huge and my nail's black and it's throbbing like hell." And then this is like, "Oh, you're gonna have to come to the doctors, the hospital bit, and we're gonna have to rip your nail off." I was like, "What?" I was like, "What?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna have to rip it off." I was like, "You could be kidding me." So I didn't want to go, and I was like, "Oh my God, I don't want to go." So I put it off all day, and it kept getting worse and worse and worse, and it was throbbing like hell. Eventually, I went to the doctor, and I said, "Oh, I don't want you to rip my nail off. That sounds terrible." And she's like, "Oh no, we're not going to do that. Come this way." And I walked into like the Medi Center, whatever it is on the Sabino side, and it was one of the crew guys, one of the Filipino guys. He was lying on his bed, and he must have got painted in the eyes because he had paint right across his face, and he's lying on his thing, and I think he fell as well, and he was in so much pain. He's like, "Ah, ah, ah, ah," and there's me walking in with my owie, and I walk in, and she basically went, "You get off." And she kicked this poor guy off, who was obviously in a lot of pain. And there's me sitting there with my owie. And then I was sweating. I was just terrified. And, and
Yeah, you're still there.
and then she basically, like numbed my thumb and then slit it and then drew, squeezed off the blood and whatever. But then I had this giant cartoon-like bandage on it like that. And I went to work. I was like, I can't deal because I got this. So I spent the next, I think that night, all I did was go on stick. I could go on stick and then go on break. So that was it, the entire night, man. It was so funny.
Oh my God. So here's another ship question. Do you have to have a certain amount of experience to get on the ships?
Well, for me, they were asking for 2 years of roulette. And like I said, I lied through my teeth. I only had 6 months. So I struggled my first contract, though, because of it. But that was, again, back in the day. I don't know how much things have changed.
I think it's still 2 years of roulette they're asking for. I remember somebody recently posting something on the RCL page of hiring, and I still think it's 2 years of the roulette and craps is a
bonus.
There used to be, like in Britain anyway, there used to be almost all the casinos that always asked for the minimum of 2 years that you had to deal. And In Britain, it really is kind of back then. It may have changed a lot, but it was really kind of traditional that people would learn roulette and blackjack. They all knew it. Baccarat and craps were like extra games they would learn later on. Well, these called Pandabanco, but they all pretty much came out of the training school knowing roulette and blackjack, and then they would learn it, right? So it was unusual.
Your casinos would have 20 or 30 roulette tables and 3 blackjack tables, right?
Yeah, like the one I trained in, we had 20 tables, 12 of them were roulette.
Yeah.
We had 12 roulettes. We didn't even have baccarat. They kicked the guy, private owner. He's like, nah, I'm kicking it out. And he just got annoyed and he kicked it out one day. So we had 12 roulette, 7 blackjack, and a craps table. But craps
And it's amazing that you had a craps table.
Yeah, craps. I mean, we were the only table then outside of Birmingham, which was like 150 miles away, whatever, 150 kilometers. And to be honest, I mean, it was really busy. But the dealers, people were like, we don't care. I mean, we didn't get tips, and it was like, if you wanted to play craps, you had to play on our table. And they were like, well, there was no competition, right? And the crazy thing was, now if you look at it, craps there's only a handful of tables like in all of Britain now. Maybe there's a few in London. The casino I trained in, they had it, got rid of it for like a really long time, and recently brought it back. So it's kind of a dying game in Britain, which is a real shame because I think it gives you an opportunity. If you have craps, it gives you a ticket to ride, right? It gives you the opportunity to travel and to work somewhere else, right? It gives you more opportunities, bigger head start than somebody else, I think.
Are the British casinos now taking tips, or is it still a big no-no? They are?
Yeah, they now take tips, but it's, you've had generations after generations where they didn't tip, and British people. I mean, we've all dealt with British people, and they just don't. You know what? They just generally don't.
It's not part of their culture, really.
No, so it's
no.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not generous in other ways, British people, whatever. It's just they're just not brought up to in that casino industry.
They'll buy you a drink before they'll leave you a tip.
Yeah. They'll buy you drinks and stuff like that. It's same as in the bar. You go to a British bar, you leave money for a tip. Sometimes they'll walk up to you, go, "Oh, you left this on the bar," and they'll give it back to you. Right? You just buy people drinks, right?
It's really not. I mean, there's a lot of casinos with more roulette tables than that.
Yeah, I worked in Greece, and we had something like 60 roulette tables. It was crazy.
Wow.
It was massive. It was like crazy. And it went 24 hours, and they would kind of like rotate they had to obviously close some of the tables to do the drop and stuff like that. And they would go, okay, we're doing this, and it was weird how it was like watching, herd sheep. As they would just move the players away from the door and just move them places. It was run by an illegal gambling, in an Israeli crime family, but apart from that, it was kind of fun.
Oh yeah, Joey's in the UK, so
what about fraternizing with the players? Like the way we do in Canada, it wouldn't be a big deal for a Canadian dealer to go, "Oh, Tom, hi, how are you?" And join them for a cup of coffee at a coffee shop. But I know in Great Britain at one time, I mean, that was be fired in a heartbeat for something like that.
Yeah, we weren't even allowed to, like, if you worked in a casino, this is how stupid it was. When I was in them, we weren't allowed to gamble in another casino in the entire country.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
is that still true?
I think it may have changed. I'm not sure, but I know the casino I trained in because it was privately owned. The guy who owned it was a gambler, and the rumor was that he won his stake in the casino in a poker game, and he was like, you know what? At the time, there was only 2 casinos in Cardiff, and he said, you can't gamble in that one in the same city, but gamble anywhere else you want. I don't care. So we used to go to a place called Swansea, which was 40 miles away, 45 miles away, and we would go literally. We'd have a night out. We'd get like a minibus, whatever, and we just fill it with 15 of us, 20 of us. We'd all drive down. One would be like a designated driver, party it up, end up in the casino, and we'd be like, "Oh, I don't deal at all." But then you deal into the people that would do the same thing. We would pretend, and they would the week before they would just drive up
and the other way.
Yeah, and you would just like, "Oh, what do you do, sir?" And because they dealt you the night before, right?
Yeah.
But it was. They had some weird, stupid rules, to be honest. But I'm not sure if that's changed. But yeah, it was difficult.
I kind of laughed when I quit the Palace to go on the cruise ships. It was I quit. I'd say probably 2 weeks before I actually went, and they actually allowed me to go into the casino and play poker or slots during that 2 weeks. They wouldn't let me do any of the table games. He says, but yeah, no, we don't care if you play poker or the slots. That's fine. Which was really, at the time, was really unusual. It was like if you quit a casino, you'd have like a 6-month ban or something. But
I can't remember if they banned me
Yeah.
from the past. They may have. I don't think
it's
so.
just kind of an unspoken, oh, you're leaving here. Yeah, you're just not allowed back in for a certain length of time.
I think when I left for ships the first time, yeah, I had 6 months too. I'm like, well, I
Yeah.
went on the contract, so I don't care. But
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, no, they were more than happy to let me come in and play poker.
Yeah,
So
probably
where's
good
Joey
fish.
from? So Joey's
What's up?
from the it's like on the chat. It says Joey's from the UK. Where is he from?
The UK.
It's
The UK.
I can't
Yeah,
I can't remember because Joey's talked to us before, so
Oh, is
Yeah,
Joey
yeah,
the
Joey's
one?
been on a couple times. Yeah.
yeah.
Is Joey the one who wants to be in casinos and he sticks up like, oh
Oh, you
yeah,
should see. Yeah, he has a new. He just bought a dice table. You should see it. I'll show you some photos after. It's really cool.
Well, he
Does he need a
deals
layout? I've got one
Payouts
for
though,
sale.
right?
What's that?
Joey
Does he
deals
need a layout?
Payouts though.
No. Okay. First off, Mike. No, he's learning to deal, and Darrell,
Okay.
he already has a layout. It's a full table, so
I got a full layout.
that's cool.
I stole that
Yeah.
from Royal Caribbean. It's been in my closet for 15 years now.
Oh, I want to see a photo of it. I have an affinity for craps felt, so. Oh, here
Well,
you
you
go.
can have this one. You can have more than a photo of it.
Oh, thanks.
I remember Joey now. Wasn't he on when we were talking about Coronation Street?
Yes.
And I met a guy from Emmerdale Farm when I went up to Leeds for a table test for, I think it was Princess Cruises like decades ago. Yeah, I remember it now.
All right. I think it's time for me to go to bed and get ready for work tomorrow.
Yeah, wow. Darrald, you broke the 2-hour mark with the show, so that's amazing. Not everybody makes it, so.
I just can't let Mikey sit there and talk shit about me, right?
That's why both of you are on waiting for the other person to jump
I
off.
do compliment you sometimes too. Okay, it's not.
Well, you do, Mike. Come on. I would never rat you out.
Thanks. You know what? But it was really good catching up with you. And when this, like I said again, when all this COVID crap is over, we really do have to have another in
Big ass
person
barbecue. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, that would be amazing. You know, like we did, 4 or 5 years ago was, and there was like 30, 40 of us went to the Palace, not the Palace, sorry.
The Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes. I think that would be really cool to, in all honesty, I think this platform that Jay's created, like literally, really, this is all down to Jay. Jay's spearhead this. He's the creative genius who's doing all this. I think that, and the Facebook chat group and things like that. I think at some point, once we can all get together, and it'll be such a cool thing to actually get to to be together in a bar and hang out and have a laugh and see Mike in his bikini again and things like that.
I'd probably punch one of the three of you.
Pick the one without hair.
Yeah. No, but actually, big props to Jay Lee. I mean, there's probably a ton of other people that haven't come on here that are watching from the sidelines and stuff, and just reliving the good times and hearing all the different stories and even all the different opinions about what may or may not happen in the future, and helping people out that are maybe not doing so well with everything that's going on right now. and giving them a bit of an outlet. I mean, props to you, Jaylee. That's huge, and thank you so much from all of them.
Well, thank you. I mean, a lot of this, like, look at today. I mean, you get to talk to Danielle, and it's two different generations talking about, like the future of, someone's career, what direction they want to take. So it's more than just that. I mean, like, I wanted people to know, like, your story, Darrald. Like, you worked so long, like, in the industry. You've done so many things. You've traveled the world. I mean, people need to hear that, right? And there's never like a good outlet. So that's why I created this, so that people can kind of hear the stories of the people that I got to work with. Because I'm really fortunate, and me coming back now at this time and this, well, I'm not gonna say now just because we're probably gonna close down again, but the whole thing about like this new generation, they never got to work with all of you here on this channel.
Right.
So
Yep. No, and this is a wonderful thing. Keep it up.
thank you.
Maybe get rid of Mike, but
Thanks.
all right, guys, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Had a great time.
All right,
See you,
Darrald.
Darrald.
Good catching up with you.
Great
You
catching up
too.
with you again.
All right. Okay. So we broke the 2-hour mark and we just booted them off.